Radical departures from the standardized design of the AR-15 either results in a uber expensive product that's neat or an uber expensive product that is a disaster. This is the X2 Dev Group Trident barrel system with some of the most bold claims that I've ever read. Now, a little bit of background on X2 Dev Group. They make the ARX light fighter rifle, and they have some very novel improvements, quote unquote, to the system. They're doing a lot of very interesting things, and I do actually think the designs are novel and unique, to say the least. Originally, they did send this barrel out to me for review over a year ago, I believe. At this point, since the one video I put up on gun.deals, they have stopped essentially manufacturing things and are essentially now licensing their designs to other companies. They still have some manufacturing capabilities, but most of it is going to be licensing out their designs rather than trying to make them themselves. Their website has been reduced to a single page, no product listings, and the email listed on their website returns a dead end. That being said, I was able to make contact with some of the former employees and the mastermind behind it all, who decided to switch up the game plan a little bit, so to speak. Now, this is going to be a follow-up video on the Trident barrel that I filmed many months ago for the Gun.Deals channel, so if you've already watched that, there's going to be a slight bit of background information. Essentially, when I got this barrel from Trident, I installed it in one of my upper receivers with a Geizy Mark 13 rail and an NLA upper receiver, one of their billet upper receivers, and went to town for about 2,000 rounds of a semi-aggressive firing schedule. Some of the claims of this barrel is that it is 416R stainless steel black nitride, which allegedly is very durable, 1 in 8 twist, 223 wild chambering. The claim to fame here are these insanely aggressive I-beam style flutes that do allegedly provide a stable thermal signature from 0 to 500 degrees and very little dispersion, and supposedly fantastic accuracy to boot. And all of that in a package, as you see it here, with the 14.5 coming in at just a hair over 20 ounces, which is the same as a lot of pencil profile barrels on the market, yet allegedly without the downsides. Now, all of this fluting and machine time does come at a very hefty price, that being the original MSRP of $550. Now, that is an absurd price for just about any barrel that's not carbon fiber. They claim that this barrel is about the same weight as carbon fiber, while not having some of the complexities of wrapping a steel tube with a high tensile strength carbon fiber. Now, one area where I do need to compliment X2 Dev Group is not in their company title, but it is in the way that they treat their customers. So for instance, there was a change in manufacturing that allowed them to make the barrels cheaper, and they actually gave the customers who had already bought one of their Trident barrels $100 back several months post-purchase, which might be the only time I've ever seen a company do that in the gun industry. Now, another interesting feature that they had with their ARX light fighter rifles, which were, again, insanely expensive, but if there was some sort of feature upgrade in the future, they would retroactively offer that to their previous buyers, which again is cool. Now that all of that is kind of out the window, since they're not really manufacturing much anymore other than taking care of current customers, I believe that is the story that I was told. Well, that's the positives out of the way, so now let's get to the actual performance of the barrel. So again, originally after about 2,000 rounds, doing the accuracy testing on the Trident barrel revealed that with certain loads you could get it close to 2 MOA, which is not exciting for a $550, $600 barrel. And with 55 grain loads, with just about anything lighter than 70, you would get somewhere between 5 and 20 MOA. Now, this was a rather large concern. When they saw my video on the Gun.Deals channel, they reached out and said, hey, let's get that barrel back in for testing, and I obliged them. Now, this is my original barrel that I have painted, and that's why you see it's a little discolored here currently, and they did some internal evaluation on it to see what the issue was. The conclusion that they came to was that it was dirty. They claimed after cleaning it and installing it into one of their own systems that they were able to achieve absolutely ridiculous levels of accuracy out of the barrel with fantastic standard deviations. Rather than take them at their word, as I really don't believe you should believe any company, whether you like them or not, whether they have a good track record or not, the people working at said company are going to be biased in multiple ways. So I requested that they send it back to me in their upper receiver, their handguard, and the ammunition that they tested it with so I could confirm their results. So I got it back in its current configuration. This is actually in one of their BCM upper receivers that they installed, that they did all of their testing in with their muzzle device and their handguard, which I only have off so that you can see the very neat looking barrel. On top of that, they sent me the ammo, allegedly responsible for the best groups that they could get. They sent me 3 boxes of this PMC X-Tac 77 grain match. So they sent me 3 boxes of the same lot of ammunition that they tested that allegedly got sub MOA groups, closer to half MOA groups, and single digit standard deviations in terms of velocity, and that's going to be important later on. Now, I have a Garmin chrono, so I simply wanted to test if their claims are true with their setup that they sent me with the original barrel and their own ammunition that they did testing with. And my results were very, very similar to what I had gotten before.
Average 30-32, extreme spread 108, standard deviation 35.6. There we go with the accuracy again. Wow, no way. Session summary. So average 30-35, extreme spread 63, standard deviation 21.5. That's even better, but that group, horrifying. Average 29-36, extreme spread 97, standard deviation 40.7. Actually pretty bad ammo. See, that was worse ammo. Average 24-35, extreme spread 44, standard deviation of 15, which that's much closer to what you would expect for a cheap match load. Average 24-21, extreme spread 120, standard deviation of 52. This is the last group, 10 shots. Standard deviation still of 38, but better than what it was. Maybe there were some shots in there where they were very close together. So maybe if you leave the barrel without making it, temperature sensitive and heat up, maybe it would not be so violently erratic in terms of velocity, but it's just not good. Just bad.
In fact, I kept the target that I did accuracy testing, and it's been sitting behind me because the results are quite funny. So, starting off with the good ones, I was able to get multiple 5 and 10 shot groups like this that are around 2 MOA. Keep in mind that this is only at 50 yards, so this is closer to 2 MOA 10 shot groups. Not bad. However, the standard deviations ranged from 50 to 38, so single digit SDs with the ammunition that they sent me. Simply not possible. So essentially anything that wasn't 75 grains or heavier was less consistent than my upload schedule. And to be fair, also the 75 grain AAC also shot like 10 MOA, so it's not even just lighter loads performing worse, though in general they were. It seems to be insanely load specific. For instance, you were able to get okay accuracy with the PMC X-Tac match 77 grain OTMs, but its SD was so poor that at extended ranges, you're still having the same accuracy issues. And to be extra unfair to the Trident, I shot all of the ammo that performed horrifying in the Trident through a Tavor, which is not known for its accuracy, and all of those ammunitions grouped, as you would expect, between 1.5 and 2.5 MOA for generic ball ammunition. In my current findings, do I believe that this barrel with this ammo is capable of good groups? Technically, yes. I don't believe their standard deviation numbers whatsoever, because again, mine were horrifying to say the least. And if you do manage to find one specific load that gets both good accuracy and good standard deviations, out of this barrel, well, by the time you've done that, you'd be better off just buying a generic lightweight barrel. Now, the silver lining in all this is that while yes, that might be the corpse of a Trident, that X2 dev group might actually be much better off selling their designs to companies that are better at manufacturing, have a lot more experience in that regard, and X2 can simply license out their products. Again, the ARX upper receiver, the way that the handguard and barrel integrate with everything, the lower receiver, the ambidextrous controls, all very, very unique. So if they can pass that off to somebody who can manage to keep the manufacturing tolerances in check, I'm all for it. If the Trident barrel can be worked on and massaged a little bit to be more consistent, more durable, whatever it might be, I think that could also be a cool option in the future. Not for the price tag that they're asking for it, even though X2 was doing some good stuff when it came to customer support. If the product isn't good, it doesn't matter how much support you offer the customer to fix your bad product. While I am very dour on the performance of the Trident barrel from X2, I actually do wish them the best because I do like novel, interesting designs that kind of push the envelope of what can be done with a AR-15-ish style platform, and I think that that is cool. It just needs to be executed properly to justify that insane price tag. But with all that out of the way, gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. God bless.